Afternoon, how are you? Well, been doing things, and so now I'm coming out, and there's the slightest amount of rain. As you can see from these gray skies, rain is possible. If it was colder, this would be snow. Another year, a year ago or 2 years ago, this would have been snow. How many years ago? There was a lawyer who was with Senator Baker's law firm in the Carolinas. I believe that's where he was. And we were trying to figure out how we could negotiate an agreement in a case. And we were talking about different philosophies. And he said, John, in a battle of wits, if your opponent is unarmed, are you at a disadvantage? And I said, yes, absolutely. If I do something intelligent that would persuade an ordinary person, a person of ordinary intelligence, I'd like it to be effective. And if the other person doesn't understand or appreciate what I'm saying, we're nowhere. I said this to a good friend of mine who's a rabbi in Long Island, and he explained to me how when he was studying, he had one teacher who said, in the war of knowledge, some people are pacifists. Okay, so on point. That's one of our problems with America. We really have this. I have been lucky enough to have known and talked to and worked with and studied some really significant politicians. When I decided to run for Congress, what I found is what Joseph Campbell says in general. If you go and you launch out on something, some heroic adventure, you find that people help you. And Stan Brand, who was a friend and was counsel in the House, he put me together with Tip O'Neill. And Tip O'Neill, I'm in his office, and he asked how much money I wanted for my campaign after we got to know each other a little bit. And I told him, and there are limits by law. And then he said, so what do you think about that? And I said, could you double it? And he laughed, and he did. And he then told me that did I have a kind of desk that I would like if I got elected, which was kind of an incentive. And I told him I thought I wanted a stand-up desk. Well, I say this because this is all kind of transactional, but it's all good transactional. It's how things are done, it's legal and so forth. But what about those things that are on the borderline? Now let's take a look at West Virginia Senator Manchin. He's in charge of the Energy Committee. Now, how does that make sense when Biden's program, including his Build Back Better $2 trillion program, includes protections for the environment? Why would you make this guy the head of the Energy Committee when he's a coal baron, and there are questions about whether or not he's reported accurately how much he's gotten and so forth, because it doesn't make sense. It could be in a blind trust because it seems to be able to see very well. So what do I get out of that? Well, let's do some of that wistful thinking. What about getting him kicked off that committee? Now, I proposed this on Twitter, and some people pushed back saying, oh my God, who will we get instead? But no, stop the music. What would tighten his sphincter muscles? If he's transactional, purely transactional, heading up the Energy Committee that literally puts money in his pocket by the policies that he decides. If there wasn't a clearer conflict, I don't know what was. And would that help him understand how he should be on other issues? Not just environmental. How about, the filibuster? How about the Build Back Better bill? How about racial justice? How about voting rights? How about any of those things? What would be the counters on the table? Because we know he's not moved by ideology of a Platonic sort to improve the common man, to do something better in government for his people, because he's been voting against all sorts of things that his people need. And West Virginia is a tough state. I'm admitted there to practice. It's right next to Virginia. I've been in and out of the state. I've gotten to see it over the years. So why aren't we saying, look, Manchin, you had a good run, and I think we should reconsider whether you should be the chair of that committee. It doesn't have to be public, but it should happen. And some have said, wow, that'll push him over the Republicans. Oh, come on. Do you think for a moment the Republicans are going to let him chair the Energy Committee if they have power? It's not going to happen, even if he joins the Republicans. And Manchin, knows that. So that's number one on my hit parade. Number two is Build Back Better. Was it March or April? I said this is going nowhere. And I said because of the S&M gang, Sinema and Manchin, and it hasn't. And I still have my doubts that it will. But if it does move, it'll move because of something like I just said. Squeezing Manchin where it hurts. Taking his honeypot away from him. Doing him as he's been doing Biden and the entire Democratic caucus. End his reign of terror, if you will. Now, what's the rush? Well, most of us know, so I guess it's a rhetorical question when I ask it, of our conjoined fellow and galship across the electronic space from where I'm walking to where you're listening or observing. The Republicans going around the country setting up electoral systems so that they can change the result if they wish. They're redistricting districts so that congressional districts so that blacks are going to find it harder to get elected or fewer will get elected. And people who've been in tight races find themselves in new districts where it's difficult. So that's what's going on. So when you're thinking about who your elected representative is and you're wondering about how bright is the light that burns between their ears, realize that we have to work double time if we understand what's going on to make what's right happen, because these guys and gals are not making it happen. And we have a ticking clock going, not for Build Back Better, but for preserving our democracy, for the reckoning of these people who are violating all the basic precepts of the American public. So, it's not raining, but it's chilly, and a couple of more degrees in a different geography, I could be skiing. Talk to you. Bye-bye.